This is Larry Henares making your day with part 28 of a book I wrote on Philippine history. Subject to the law of resultant forces. And I continue to quote. In the 1960s, there was a strong movement to change the name of Dewey Boulevard to Aguinaldo Boulevard. It was a matter of historical vindication. It was, after all, the bogus hero, Commodore Dewey, who sadistically sank all Spanish ships in a sham battle after Montojo already agreed to accept defeat. The same flim-flam prevaricator who deceived Aguinaldo into being his ally against Spain and then denied him the fruits of victory at the gates of Manila. But American pride and white man's vanity are not to be denied. Under American pressure, our Congress renamed Dewey Boulevard not after Aguinaldo, who fought the Americans, but after the president who granted parity rights to the Americans. And again, as always, Aguinaldo is forgotten because Americans don't want us to remember him. If the Centennial Commission had any sense of history, it would immediately demand that we accord the father of our nation the honor that he deserves, on par with Rizal and Bonifacio. After our June 12, 1898 Declaration of Independence, the Americans at the Treaty of Paris bought the Philippines at $2 a head, 10 million Filipinos, totaling $20 million, and embarked on their manifest destiny. The Americans found the Filipinos much harder to conquer than the Spaniards. The Spanish-American War lasted only 4 months, April 21 to August 13, 1898, with 385 Americans dead. The Philippine-American War lasted 38 months, from 1899 to April 1, 1902, and resulted in 4,243 Americans killed. More about this after these messages. This is Larry Henares making your day with part 28 of Philippine history that I wrote. And chapter, the law of resultant forces. Continue to quote. The American policy with respect to its new colony was subject to the law of resultant forces. These principal political forces of which Philippine policy was the resultant were, number one, the imperialists, composed mostly of big business interests and Republicans, headed by Theodore Roosevelt, a myopic weakling who, as leader of the Rough Riders, scrambled on his knees up to San Juan Hill in Cuba. Teddy believed that the United States needed a war to keep it fit. An Anglophile, he nevertheless quarreled with Great Britain over Venezuelan boundaries and even spoke of conquering Canada. With marvelous irrelevance, Teddy likened the Philippines to Apache Indians and called Aguinaldo a Benedict Arnold in what must forever remain the greatest of all non-sequiturs. The second force, the anti-imperialism, composed mostly of the Democratic opposition and the Bleeding Heart Society, led by William Jennings Bryan. Bryan, spewing red-hot lava, was starting to proclaim what Bertrand Russell later called the grand policy of the 20th century, the doctrine of the superior virtue of the oppressed. To Bryan, the Filipino was the noble savage. The third force that resulted in an American policy is President William McKinley and William Howard Taft, subsequently Chief Justice, U.S. President, and the street in Manila, compelled by extremists in the Republican Party to a course of active moderation. The truth was that most Americans did not care about their manifest destiny. So even Teddy Roosevelt later became hesitant. As the years went by, for a variety of reasons, the majority of Americans were as determined to leave the Philippines as the Filipinos were determined to have them leave. The only ones who wanted to stay are the big business interests: Rockefeller, Cabot Lodge, Procter & Gamble, General Motors, General Electric, Citibank of New York. The troubled President McKinley appointed two commissions, the first headed by Jacob Gould Sherman and the second headed by William Howard Taft. The directive for the Taft Commission was authored by one remarkable American named Elihu Root, then Secretary of War and a famous lawyer. I'll talk about it tomorrow, my dear friends. This is Larry Henares, making your day, saying good day, God bless you. Thank you very much for being with us. Till next time, hasta la bye-bye.